Okay, we will try this. This is the first time he's on stage. Hey guys, my name is Emil. Agata told me that I should speak, so we should use English for the presentation. Okay, so if you have any questions, let's make a more, free talk and dialogue. If you have any questions in Latvian or English, I can take it. Maybe in German as well. My German is a bit rusty, like did this. Nevertheless, my name is Emil. I'm a computer scientist by education, but for the last 10 years, I work in healthcare space. So I try to combine applying my skill sets in computer science in the healthcare space. So Agata asked me to talk more about myself. It will be a little bit, questionable. Nevertheless, I will talk about how can we use digital stuff to apply it in healthcare space. How can we build products? I will try to outline some of the things, so like lessons learned or call to actions. So maybe you can take some of the stuff with you. So yeah, so speaking of my background, so I started studying medicine in Germany in 2011. Then I went back to Latvia. It was hard. It was hard to get there. It was hard to study. But the third thing, it was hard also to study and to work simultaneously. So due to various reasons, I came back. And in order not to take the gap year, I talked with the computer science departments like, oh, I most probably can build some stuff. It might be fun. I did some stuff in school. So I applied to study computer science in the University of Latvia. There were some pros and cons. I don't know how many of you have IT background here. Raise your hands. Okay. And how many of you have come from life science, like healthcare, biology, chemistry? Anyone? 1, 2. Oh yeah, Santa, you were. Yes, amazing. So I will be devoting the speech to you. Yeah. Nevertheless, so I was always thinking about how can I perceive technology as a sort of a screwdriver? Like, when you order like IKEA at home, and sorry IT guys for that. When you order IKEA, you can just imagine what type of furniture you would like to have, and you can screw it. You can screw it up, and you can screw it to make some kind of figures, make some kind of objects, etc. So I try to perceive computer science in the same way. So how can I use it to build stuff for some other domains? And I started investigating. So my health helped me to investigate because I had 2 surgeries in my knees. Back in 2013, I was doing professional capoeira. Maybe if some of you have heard about that. There's one person nodding with a head. It's very nice. Good stuff. So yeah, so I was basically in need to do my bachelor thesis, and I was lying in my bed with a huge red knee, and I needed to do rehab. So the hospital said, hey, you should do rehab, but if you overdo some stuff, if you flex your leg incorrectly, you might get hurt and you will have another surgery. And I was like, oh shit, how can I even understand what's happening there, because it hurts like hell. I cannot go to the toilet. I cannot, walk, jump, run, whatever it is. So I actually met my professor at university, Leo, and Otis, the guy there with the Patagonia vest. So, hey, I was mentioning you, Otis, sorry. Yeah, so basically I started working in the institute, and Otis, his research was helping me out with my bachelor thesis. Yeah, hey, Otis. So if you would like to talk about electronics, about sport tech, go talk with us. Nevertheless, so I took his electronics and I combined it with an app, like lying in my bed, and I made a solution that can monitor my knee flexure. So how can I do rehab at home and send this data to the doctors and healthcare professionals? But what's the problem? So I start knocking on the doors of medical university and faculty of medicine, and no one opened any doors because no one gave a shit about that. And we often hear from universities, talks about interdisciplinarity, that we should, combine skills, work together. So back in the days, at least 10-ish years ago, it was only, talks. So it was very hard to find anyone who can explain me something from medical terms because I know how to code. So I just went to the private clinic. I paid my rehab specialist, and I just, was interrogating her while she was doing her job. I was like, hey, can you look at the screen? What do you think? It's like, okay, you pay me for the sessions. I will give you some feedback. So this is how I built the first research. And then I switched to, actually I work with several guys here. So Didis was the attractive guy who was pitching and talking here. So I work with him on his prosthetic stuff, the thing he spent a lot of money on and lost money, as he mentioned. So we attached the same sensors there. Nevertheless, so outline on the concept and then switching to the industry specifics and the company and the things that we're working on, one of the challenges that I found is that how can we make these two islands, like distinguished islands of medical professionals who know how to do stuff with patients but don't know anything about IT, and IT guys who know how to code but doesn't know anything about, how to apply this in the medicine field. So when I was in the bachelor studies, I built a lab. So I went to Microtix and I said, hey guys, I have an idea. Why don't we make a lab and integrate study program into this? And one of the co-founders says, okay, we'll give you 300,000 euros for that. So I stole a room from the faculty and I just painted it, made some furnitures, brought some machinery, etc. And I ended up the only one using it from the faculty representatives. Nevertheless, we got around 2,000 students and 15 thesis projects and 10 publications after that. Actually, 2 startups that went as a spin-offs out of the university. So always it was about how to combine these two fields. So after I would call myself rather a little bit masochistic because I worked in education space and I work in healthcare space. So before I was leading the foundation called Start IT, some schools from Liepāja and Grobini, you were involved in the program. So basically we were fundraising around 1 million euros to give out free curriculum to all Latvian schools to learn digital skills and learn IT. So I went from the tough crowd from education. When you come as 25 years old guy in a room full of teachers with, poker faces there, a lot of skeptics there, and you pitch the stuff and you say how good it is, and switch this to the guys in in white coats with the same poker face there. Nevertheless, so all the time it was about healthcare. My thought was, hey, I should start something because there was nothing in Latvia that I could just join and work there. There was some queue management stuff, etc. Sorry about that if someone's working on this kind of stuff. It was not about me. So I wanted to work directly with patients, directly with doctors, and 2 things came out. Whether I could go away from Latvia and just switch my job, or we start something here. So I found a couple of people and we started Longenesis, which is basically the leading company in the Baltics now in digital health space. We work with around 800,000 patients already in 10 disease groups, Latvian hospitals, government of Middle East in UAE. We manage the Genome Bank program. And and growing there as a business. But let me talk about the industry because I don't want to just make it, it's just, hey, we're a startup within this and that. By the way, fundraising. It's all about the industry. So we started off as a multi-layer approach. So basically, we started off with patients because we all can be perceived as patients. And for sure, you have encountered many problems there because we know how to use digital stuff in everyday life, like pay the bills, do the OX drive stuff to rent a car, etc. But why don't we use it in healthcare space? Do you have any ideas why? How many of you have used like digital solutions in healthcare in everyday life when you come to the doctor? Yeah. Okay. So the feedback system, like the surveying part. Okay. Anyone else? DataMed. Okay. So you can check your lab results for radiology results. Okay. So oftenly there are many challenges there, and one is related to mindset for sure, that we need to educate, we need to think about the digital skills. But nevertheless, one of the challenge is that there is a concept of so-called black box, meaning that when the patient is outside of the hospital, it's not a controllable environment. So there is not enough information about the patients, about ourselves. So healthcare practitioners cannot make any suggestions or make any conclusions based on that. So the general example is like, there are follow-up visits between like 6 months when you go outside from the hospital and go back, and the doctor asks you, hey, how do you feel like throughout these 6 months? And you say, okay. How do Latvians say, like, it's okay, I'm alive, am I right? And it's just, one subjective point throughout the whole 6 months, and it cannot give us an ability to actually make any decisions or make any dialogue based on data. But on the other side of that, there's oversaturation with data. There is so much data in the hospitals that we generate, also patients do generate. If I look at myself, I see not only the biological system, rather the data source. So I generate quite a lot of data as well as you do. And it's not only lab data, etc. It's also subjective data, fitness data, lifestyle data, etc. that we can utilize for that. So the thing is, how can we apply everyday tech to make this dialogue between the clinician and the patients? And just to give you a couple of examples, one of the examples that we can use is wearable devices. So how many of you are using this? How many of you do have wearable devices? Okay. How many of you do share this data with someone, or at least think they share? With whom do you share the data? With him. Oh, okay. So it's a peer-to-peer sharing. Is he a doctor? Okay, so you're like challenging each other. Okay, great. So you can use the same concept, but not only directly like peer-to-peer with your friend to challenge yourself with a doctor, but rather macroscopically. So one of the examples that come to my mind is the app called Cardiogram. This was a spin-off out of UCSF in US that got acquired but by one company, so they exited in US. Nevertheless, what they provided is that there is an app that you can connect any wearable device that can measure your heart data. And it's not only to you that you can take insights and examine yourself better, rather than you can share the data with researchers developing new algorithms to detect cardio-related risks. And the thing is that they gathered around 600,000 patients, like people sharing the data 24/7. And no hospital in the world can get such data in real time because they're good cardiologists, there are good labs that can examine your heart, but you cannot get something like that real time without you using digital solutions. And this simple digital solution actually connected more than 500,000 people and let researchers develop around 10 different algorithms that are clinically approved right now in the hospitals. Another example of just everyday solution, because it's not only about rocket science. You may have heard that there are deep learning algorithms or quantum computers that might be utilized in healthcare. But I wanted just to give you a glimpse of just everyday tech, so you can think about how can you utilize something that you use in everyday life. Is also voice assistants. So how many of you do have voice assistants at home or use your mobile-based voice assistant like Siri or Google, or what do you use? Siri. What do you use it for? Weather and time. Nice. Boring. I think Siri is bored about that. Yeah. You raise the hand. Calling someone. Okay, so automated commands. Very nice. So you can use the same concept in healthcare as well. So let me give you just two examples that my team worked on. One is related to where it's children and pediatric care. So work with a hospital in the US to give a tool that will empower patients and their parents to educate them and also find these red flags that something is going wrong. So after surgery, when patients were discharged from a hospital, like patients together with their parents, they went home, and what they started to do, they started calling the hotline all the time, asking, hey, can my child drink orange juice? Can we walk down the stairs? Can we do this? Can we do that? So we interpreted it and made an algorithm that helped to describe every day throughout the patient journey, like 2-3 weeks, to help to educate and empower patients. But it's not only about information that you can also read in any app or whatever. It's about the communication that every morning you say, good morning, Siri, good morning, Alexa, whatever it is. And it gives you the instruction and asks you, hey, how do you feel? Did you go to the toilet? Do you have any pain? Do you have this and that? And all of this information, we classified this to healthcare professionals so they can react accordingly if they see that for 2 days, Emil had a headache, and maybe that's important. Or for 3 days, Emil has not used his medication because that was he prescribed with. And this is something that can help to reduce the hotline costs, but other than that, also receive data that can be used for research and clinical processes. And another example of that is the work of my student that was related to prostate cancer. So we applied this in UCL in London. Basically, we gave out solutions to patients after the surgery on prostate cancer. And the problem was the following. So, you spend around like 20-30 minutes in the doctor office, am I right? Like when you go to the visit, to consultation. And more than half of the time they spend on asking exactly the same questions to the patients. How do you feel? They were evaluating your psycho-emotional related things and risks. Whether you take drugs, whether you take medicine, adherence to that. Do you have any physical or any other conditions, etc., etc. So the routine questionnaires. What we gave out to the patients. So when they come, like half an hour before, the nurse sees that Emil is coming there and he has a red flag because he was not responding to his adherence questions. Maybe he took the medicine, maybe not. So it's better to talk and address this rather than, just skip it and leave it. And then after half a year, you will have some problems with that. Yeah, switching to just a couple of more examples, and then I will try to summarize this, the whole chaotic talk. Another example for sure is virtual reality. So how many of you have used it? Virtual reality, for what purposes? Games? Nice. How did you like it? It was fun. Nice. So just to give you a quick example, so there was an app called Big Screen TV. So the guys developed a virtual room where you can watch movies together with your friends or peers or colleagues. It was super popular during COVID time because like people start buying electronics at home and they wanted to spend time with their friends. So they made several virtual rooms to watch, I don't know, whatever there is. And people started using it not only as a movie watching series, rather than consultations with a psychotherapist. So to talk, to have a group therapies or peer-to-peer therapy. And they started to examine this, why they do this. So first and foremost, it was comfortable. You just put on your goggles, your headset, and you do your thing. Second of all, you all have avatars there. So it was much easier for people to open up, because sometimes, I think you all know these questions, hey, do you smoke? Or did you drink last night? And then, you feel a little bit uncomfortable with your therapist, like with the GP. Or maybe I'm the only one, sorry. Okay, nevertheless. So, and basically this is what, just to show you that everyday tech that can be used for just entertainment part can be used for the same healthcare related things. Just switching back to the company, and then I will summarize this. Yeah. So basically, what we try to do, we try to work with data. There is so-called term secondary health data use. Has someone heard about that? Secondary use of data? No? Great. So it's data used not only for medical care, for consultations or for therapy, rather than for research, for developing new drugs, new treatments. And the problem that we identified when we go from hospital to hospital is the following. So hospitals and healthcare institutions are sitting on shit ton of data. So because we generate a lot of data. But the problem is that we're not utilizing it because we're afraid, we're skeptic, and companies that so-called data brokers or data lakes creators, etc., are coming from hospital to hospital and ingest this data into some kind of centralized storage where they use it for research. So it means that hospitals become data donors. And we wanted to switch this concept, and still are switching this concept. And we're saying that, hey, hospitals should not be data donors. Rather, we should give them an ecosystem where we can train AI models, we can do analytics, we can do drug discovery related things. So pharma companies can work on this data to develop novel drugs without data leaving the hospital facility. So hospitals together with patients should be co-creators of data, not just giving out data to the left and to the right. And yeah, so that's what we're doing. And switching to the summary part. I lost myself. Switching to the summary part is basically what I wanted to talk is that with everyday tech like chatbots, voice assistants, mobile apps, just serving questionnaires as one of the persons that were outlined, we can apply this to healthcare industry and actually change it a little bit, because we should not be only tech oriented, because I've seen many companies I worked with as a tech consultant building tech or scaling up the tech. And a lot of them were thinking, oh, let me just buy .ai domain or .blockchain domain or whatever it is domain, or do an ICO, and I will be the coolest guy in the room. That's cool. It's fun. You can play around with that, but I don't think it's the right thing to be in healthcare. In healthcare, you should look at the process and then apply the easiest and most robust stack there to do some changes and make some changes. Yeah. So basically, we're based in Riga. We're 16 people. We work with GovTech projects. The funniest one is in the Middle East. So we now have around 700,000 Arabic people using ourselves to build the world's largest genome bank. And this whole thing is managed by one Latvian guy, Arnolds. We're not filming, but if he can see me, hi, Arnolds. He's a cool guy. A little bit, I think, overwhelmed with work. For 3.5 years, he's doing this stuff. Yeah, if you have any questions about healthcare or IT or digital related stuff, I'll be happy to. Please. Yeah, it's a hard topic. It's one of the most conservative fields. And this is why I said I'm a little bit of masochism. because I work in education space, now I work in healthcare space. What we tried to do, we failed firstly because we tried to take the big elephants in the room, the big players, and you should never you should diversify. That's the lesson 101 that we did. But nevertheless, we tried to outline the partners that are part of larger consortiums or the franchises that can give us a higher scale up. So like a partnership I can speak about is Novartis, the Swiss-based pharma, and we will be the exclusive provider for their novel drug in cardiology for cholesterol management. And basically, we started off working with the Baltic franchise to actually get to the French franchise because exactly the same problems disregarding the region. And by developing it here, we can bring it further then. And the same with hospitals. So what we tried to do, we did a lot of pro bono projects with regional hospitals in pediatric care, in oncology care, in cardio-related diseases domains. But we were doing the due diligence with the hospitals to understand how can we pitch it further on. So it's not just a project-based company or agency that we just develop apps or develop solutions or develop whatever it is as ecosystem-wise. Yeah, not a problem. If there are any more questions, I'll be happy to address those. If not, I'll be somewhere around drinking more beers than I got before, and lying to my GP on Monday about that. Ernest, you here? Agatha, you here? Everyone's here. Thank you so much. That was so exciting that the dog just